Hey folks, today is July 30th, 4:40 p.m. My name is James. Let's take a look and see what we got here. Okay, so let me go to the S&P. I've redrawn some lines here. I had an ascending channel here that had cut through, and now I've taken both of those lines off, and I see this here now, an ascending triangle over top of this resistance area. So I think that's actually pretty bullish, and that's kind of what I think the market's doing right now, is kind of waiting to see what happens Wednesday with this Fed rate decision. I think the whole market is kind of, not really the whole market, because some of the stocks are having earnings reports and they're moving, and so there's different things going on, but the overall market, it seems to be waiting for this Fed rate decision. So like there was what seemed like rotation on Monday, and then a bit more downside today to sideways, just kind of not a lot of volume either. There's not a lot of really exciting moves happening. There's only a few consolidations that are waiting to go. There's just a lot of wait and see, it seems like. The NASDAQ is still within this. I mentioned yesterday that it could end up being bearish because it kind of looks like a rising wedge. So the NASDAQ opened below that and got pushed back in, which is actually good. And now Apple announced their earnings and they were positive. So hopefully when they go in the earnings call, they don't say anything that's going to reverse that move. And that should help lift the S&P and the NASDAQ. And then the Russell, it actually popped up through this line finally, though it did that previously. We'll have to see if that can then continue higher. Maybe Apple's earnings will help pull that up or something. Some of the other techs might move with it and move that index a little higher. If you look at the Dow, it's still kind of hanging out. That's kind of why I think there's a lot of wait and see going on. This whole thing is just kind of a pause. It just keeps going sideways. But I think the rate decision is going to be what finally gives some resolution to the wait and see. We'll have to see what happens. Okay, going into my list here, Shopify this is really the one that I think looks the best and has really, really good chance to go higher, and that's based on only if we get really good earnings on Thursday from Shopify. Back here was the last earnings report right here. There was a small consolidation that popped it out and it just took off. Having earnings in the morning on something like Shopify is fantastic because it's like, if they're great, you just have the whole day in front of you with no real after hours periods to wait for. It's like good earnings, it might move up a little bit in the pre-market, and Shopify really doesn't seem to have a lot of activity pre-market either. It just kind of sits and waits. So hopefully it doesn't get a lot of that on Thursday morning if the earnings are good. But even if it does, it's got lots of room to go from this lower line all the way up through the top and then keep going. And that's what I hope happens. Setting up really nice to do that. Carvana is still in this. It just kind of pulled back a little today. ZTO, this thing doesn't really have a lot of volume, but there's definitely a resistance line there. If it can make its way over, it'd be a buy as long as there's good volume in there. Earnings are until August 15th, so I added this one today, EOG, because this is a nice falling wedge there, and then a really good pop-up today. Its earnings are August 1st, which is Thursday, but after the close, so I have to see what that does. But it kind of looks like oil should start moving. Like today was a pretty good pop in oil. A lot of different oils were moving, so that's why I put that one in there. We'll see what that does after its earnings. This guy came out of this upper line today. I don't think this one was in there yesterday. I added it today, and it actually went all the way over the line. Volume was pretty good. It wasn't quite what I would want. I didn't buy that today, but looks okay. We'll see if it can keep going higher. AMT has a really nice triangle. Its earnings are tomorrow morning before the open, except that it closed today with volume out of the pattern. Not quite what I would have wanted, because if earnings come out and they're good, it could gap up. Hopefully it just doesn't have any activity in the morning, even if earnings are good, and then we'll see what it does through the day. So keep an eye on that one. TWLO is basically closed below this line, but again, its earnings are tomorrow after the close. Maybe we'll get some buying tomorrow with the Apple earnings and some positive tech action, possibly. And then TWLO might try to go up again. It'd be nice if it did. I wouldn't want to see it below the lower line before the earnings. It'd be nice to come back into the pattern and then the earnings are good. And then we get a chance to buy it as it pushes over this line. That would be really, really nice, but we'll have to see what it does. WCG. Its earnings were this morning, and they were good, but it didn't really do anything. A little bit of extra volume. Didn't really come out of the pattern or do anything significant, so I'll just keep an eye on that and we'll see what it does. This guy tried to come out. The line was actually lower than that. It actually came out and went right back in, so I just adjusted the line to encompass the day. And then our earnings August 8th, we'll have to give that more time to see what it does. Etsy's earnings are August 1st after the close, still in that big triangle. Z, August 7th for earnings, still under that line. Needs more time, and it might take earnings to push it out of there. We'll have to see. Square, same thing, earnings August 1st after the close. Nice little base there. CRL, this has earnings tomorrow morning. And it's got a really nice big triangle. If it can get any momentum off of good earnings, we'll have to see if it can move out of there. PSN, I cannot find this stock's earnings. I looked on FinViz, I looked in my calendar within Thinkorswim. I have no idea when it reports earnings. Maybe they're not scheduled yet. I don't know. So I'd be really careful because who knows if they're going to come out all of a sudden. But yeah, it's got a nice ascending triangle there. And 38.39 is what I would say for the buy point. Info, its earnings are September 24th, as I have right there. And that's got a nice little base with plenty of time before the earnings come out. So if that suddenly gets going, that'd be a good one to try. So 66.07 would be the high there. MDB looks terrible now. I still wouldn't short this. Because I still don't think the overall market is going to warrant shorting something, especially something that's had such nice big pops like this, or even back in here. I don't know why this is so weak right now. I really don't. But I sure wouldn't short it. I mean, it's a descending triangle, but still, I just wouldn't be shorting that. Definitely not a place to buy it, though. I don't even know what the stock is doing at this point. Hopefully, it comes back in. Maybe it needs to rest longer, pull back more. I don't know. We'll give it a little bit more time, but yeah, I'm probably going to be taking it out of the list here shortly. Trade desk rebounded nicely. Your entry was down here, and that's where the stop should be. Even though you would have to sit through that nightmare, but it didn't come to the stop. Gapped up, actually gapped down, but buying showed up and pushed it back up. So. And then with Apple's earnings, maybe that pushes this a little higher because it's kind of a tech play. It does mobile advertising, stuff like that. So hopefully that'll push Trade Desk higher, and then, the price will just keep climbing. And Churchill Downs is still positive. So it popped out here. The buy point was right in there, so it could have been this day or that day. I would have probably had to stop about $2 below that while it did this whole thing, and now it's actually popped up and climbed up a bit higher there. So that looks really good, and it doesn't really seem affected by the negativity that came in on Monday. So yeah, Churchill Downs looks really, really, really good. Okay, so that's it. That's all for today. We'll see what happens with some of these stocks that have earnings tomorrow morning, and then obviously I'm watching Shopify. So I'll see you in it tomorrow.